whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, you are welcome here. You belong here. Now let's enter our worship time by lighting the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian faith. Cecilia? Thank you. Cecilia will be lighting the chalice as I share these words from two remarkable leaders. Okay. The first is from Dorothy Day. People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds are like that. The second one is from Margaret Mead. Never underestimate the power of a small group of committed people to change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. Now let us say the words of our mission, which affirm our shared purpose. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
Hi, I'm Zephyr Burton. I'm he, him. This statement was written by members of the 2022 Challenging Racism Group and held by the Indigenous Connection Circle. Our land acknowledgement is an act of remembering, an act of repair, an act of accountability, an act of acknowledgement and atonement. Let us take a moment to reflect upon this place where we gather. Let us recall that this is the stolen ancestral land of the Chalamala and Chiffin bands of the Kalapuya people, whose descendants still live among us. For time out of mind, Indigenous people lived here along the Willamette River, maintaining the diverse oak savanna ecosystem through careful land management based on their deep understanding and sense of kinship with the world around them. White American settlers and colonizers decimated entire villages with disease, forcibly laid claim to the land, and brutally removed the Kalapuya people, along with 30 other tribes, to what are now the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians. The attempts to destroy Native culture continued through the banishment of languages, broken treaties, and the separation of children from their families, sent to boarding schools where children were abused and traumatized. Today, there are several ongoing efforts in our region to revitalize languages, restore land and water rights, cultivate indigenous arts and sciences, and reestablish the sovereignty of Native tribes. Let those of us who occupy this land resolve together to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. May we do our part to steward this land, and may we continue to strengthen our relationships with our Indigenous neighbors.
Enter our time of joys and sorrows. I want to light this candle. This is our candle of life that we've been using for the last couple of years. I'm going to light this for Ruth Demler, who passed away last Sunday evening. Ruth always liked to sit over there, and I enjoyed watching her over there. And I and a lot of us are going to miss her a lot. Next Sunday, we're going to have a service for Ruth Demler here, Sunday at 3 o'clock. Yesterday, we had a beautiful memorial service for Lisi. These flowers are from that service. I think these are like Dutch Renaissance tulips. These are really, really beautiful. So thank you to the family for leaving those for our service today. In our book of joys and sorrows, we hear a lot of gratitude and blessing and celebration and joy. Thank you for continued health and friendship, joy for inclusive, conscious community, so grateful, and prayers for upcoming surgery for my friend Jill. Endlessly grateful for the love and support that I'm receiving from my church during the most difficult time of my life. That's from Daniel. He signed his name to it. The blessings of nature, especially in April, are bountiful. Yes, indeed they are, and so welcome. A prayer to celebrate the life of my Aunt Jeannie, who passed away last night. May our family find healing, knowing she is now at peace. Prayers for Aunt Jeannie. And joy to be here. Sorrow to still not feel so well, but joy to be here anyway. I want to ask for prayers and also visits for our friend Bob Kaiser. He had a fall and he's now recuperating at Cascade Manor in their health section. He says it's so boring over there as he heals from a broken bone. If you could go over there this week to just pop in for a really quick visit, Cascade Manor, just ask for Bob Kaiser and he'll love to see your face. Thank you for that. And finally, someone writes, please pray for my daughter Colleen, who has colon cancer. She has her 6th chemo treatment tomorrow. And that's from our dear Sally O'Donnell. So many worries in the world, so many things that weigh heavy on our hearts. Our loved ones are hurting. We ourselves are hurting at times. There's grief and loss in our communities. And yet, here we are together. And yet, we have chosen to be together this morning instead of being isolated and separate. What a marvelous thing that we have all chosen this for ourselves and for each other. You are a light in someone else's life. Even when you don't feel like there's any brightness left in you, you are a light in someone's day. I want to just ask you all to enter into a time of silence. No words.
One of the traditions of UUCE is to acknowledge the holidays and spiritual practices of other religions. Tomorrow is the first night of Passover. And although I don't speak for all Jews, after participating in many listening circles over Zoom over the last 6 months, it is clear that the fate of the multinational hostages and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza This Passover will be a difficult commemoration for millions of Jews all around the world, just as this year's Ramadan was painful for many global Muslims. Passover is about the liberation of Jews from enslavement in Egypt, thought to have occurred 3,500 years ago. This got me thinking about liberation in general. What does that mean socially, politically, psychologically? I began to think of all the peoples in the world who live under oppression. The Uyghur people of China, the Rohingya of Myanmar, the women of Afghanistan, of Nigeria, the femicide in Guatemala, Mexico, and Honduras, the medical apartheid in the United States concerning women and LGBTQ+. Billions of people on earth are living under oppression created by otherism, perpetuated by people in power. After apartheid was outlawed in South Africa, Nelson Mandela said, "It is not our diversity that divides us. It is not our ethnicity or religion or culture that divides us. Since we have achieved our freedom, there can only be one division amongst us, between those who cherish democracy and those who do not." This led me to ponder, what can be done about this otherism? How to counteract the divisiveness that leads to the oppression of others? In other words, who of us doesn't need to work on our own liberation from prejudice, stereotypes, and our fear of the other? I found this passage in a Reform Judaism Siddur, a prayer book, that might guide our own goals of liberation this Passover. "You have called us to peace, for you are peace. Grant us the vision to realize these aims. Where there are prejudice and hatred, let there be acceptance and love. Where there are fear and suspicion, let there be confidence and trust. Where there are tyranny and oppression, let there be freedom and justice. Where there are poverty and disease, let there be prosperity and health. Where there are strife and discord, let there be harmony and peace."
So Chaplain Jesse and I began this 2-week series on interdependence last Sunday. We started with a prayer of lament, to Earth and all of the more than human realm. We read the advice of Joy Harjo. We read Robin Wall Kimmerer. We listened to poetry that said, "You need not ever to feel lost on this earth, for the earth has made this place for you, and it knows where you are." In the year 2024, we face Earth Day Sunday with so many different emotions. We know that there is climate anxiety, and there is so much uncertainty about the future. There's a lot of uncertainty about today. When you look at all those charts showing the rise in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, it's natural to feel hopeless and powerless. But feeling those emotions is not the same as believing yourselves to be hopeless or powerless. We are seeing more and more people coming together in small groups and neighborhood circles and collectives and co-ops and religious communities because we know that our very survival depends on our relationships with the people physically closest to us. More and more of us believe in the power of our collective resilience, our collective genius, our collective capacity. And I include the intelligence of the land and the water and the plants and the air as part of that collective. Throughout our very brief time on this earth, we humans have spent most of it fighting with each other and figuring out how to dominate the non-humans for our benefit. We got so caught up in our progress upward and onward forever and ever, spending and buying, upgrading and overworking, we forgot how to just simply get along and cooperate with each other for the sake of a greater good. And we forgot how much the pulsing, breathing earth loves us.
On the tables, you're going to find some forms which we hope you'll use to create personal commitment for the earth. And we're looking at this commitment over the next 6 months, which means sometime in October, I believe.
There's a date, actually.
There's a date.
October 20th.
October 20th, I've heard, where we'll be revisiting our personal commitments. Okay. On the screen, you're going to see a loop of actions you can take, ranging from replacing paper napkins and paper towels with cloth, which, by the way, I did about 3 years ago, and I just tossed them in the wash with the sheets and the towels. Having deck veggie planters, converting to drip systems, reducing vehicle idling. We also have some tip sheets at the tables that might jiggle some ideas. There's 2 pages, and I put on 2 copies of each of the 2 pages on the table so you can share, but there are quite a few tips on that also. Please keep in mind that some of these actions may not be pertinent if you have mobility issues, or don't have garden or planter space, or don't have the finances to replace appliances and vehicles. Still, try to find some changes you can make to help the environment. Any effort to reduce waste and carbon emissions will help the earth and its inhabitants.
So the reason that we decided to do it like this is because we know that there's a lot of collective intelligence in this room. Many of you have already made so many changes in your lifestyle over the decades, and you have lots of good ideas that you can share with the people at your table. Some people are just starting off on this venture, and they may need a little guidance. Some of you are like way off the charts, and you're fighting Congress, and you're, doing a lot of advocacy and letter writing and things like that. It really doesn't matter where you are on the continuum. What matters is that wherever you are, there is always something else, right? There's always something else to reimagine or to recreate. There's always something else to resist. There's something else to reform. And so just start where you are. Start where you are, exchange ideas with your neighbors. So I had a really fun idea. I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun to go home and count all the plastic containers in your, just say it like the guest bathroom, or, pick a room, pick a place, you can just say your kitchen, how many plastic containers are in your kitchen today, and then in 6 months, how many plastic containers will be in that same space. So that's one idea of something really fun to do. There are so many ideas, and I know that in this room, we could generate about 1 million, probably. But we only have 15 minutes, so have a great time filling out your commitment forms. We're going to have a little ceremony in a few minutes after you're done using those forms. And for the people on Zoom, I'm going to join you on my laptop, and we'll have a conversation out in the hallway. All right. No? Okay. That's okay, because on the back of your commitment sheet, I reprinted Joanna Macy's 5 Vows. And so I thought what we could do is together read just the first 3. Just the first 3 to each other. And you're holding your commitment sheet, right? This is what you're committing to. And this is a stretch for you, hopefully. Hopefully it's not, too easy. Hopefully it's a stretch. It's going to take you 6 months to really get it instituted into your life. Okay, so hold that sheet, and then on the back where you see the Joanna Macy vows, let's say together, I vow to myself and to each of you to commit myself daily to the healing of our world and the welfare of all beings, to live on earth more lightly and less violently in the food, products, and energy I consume, to draw strength and guidance from the living earth, the ancestors, the future beings, and of all species. Thank you so much for participating today. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. By the way, those produce bags in the center of the table, these are gifts from Gary Ray? Yes, and so please take them and use them well. As you go, I want to share a definition of truth from David Abram's book, The Spell of the Sensuous. Truth, a human condition that lives in a mutually beneficial relationship with the surrounding earth, is a community that lives in truth. May we be such a community. Go in peace, everyone. Go in love.